All right, now in this video, I'm going back to those same application problems and just going on and solving them. All right, so on that first one, we already have them set up. So now what I'm going to do is replace the x in that top equation with y minus 6. Okay, then I'd still have plus y equals 64. So I'm taking this top equation and I'm just replacing the x with the y minus 6. So now we're going to go on and solve. The y's are on the same side, so I'm going to get 2y minus 6 is 64. So I'm going to add 6, and that's going to give me 2y is equal to 70. And so when I divide by 2, I find out that y would be 35. Okay. Now, to find x, a good place to go is right there. And so x should equal whatever y was, which was 35, take away 6, and 35 minus 6 would be 29. And then before I put it in, I'm going to check it with the words of the problem. The sum of the two numbers is 64. 35 plus 29 equals 64. That checks. And then take the smaller number and see, is it 6 less than the larger one? Okay. Yep. So that's it. So 35 is the larger number, and the smaller one is 29. Make sure if it specifies, if it asks for smaller versus larger, make sure you put them in the correct spots. All right, let's finish problem number 2. All right, on that one, it's also one where substitution would work best. So I'm going to take 2y and put it in for x in that top equation. I'd have 2y plus the y. So I'm taking this top equation and just replacing the x with 2y. And I'd get 2y plus y equals 180. So that's 3y equals 180. And then divide by 3. And I'd have y equals 60. Okay. And then I'm going to find x by plugging in 60 right there where the y was. And I find out that the x would be 120. Now, you got to be careful about where you put them. That's why it's important that you've specified for yourself what your x represents. X is sodas, so 120 would go there. The y is hot dogs, so that's the 60 would go for the hot dogs, okay? So make sure you put them in the correct spots. So 120 120 sodas and 60 hot dogs. Notice how your check would be that they do combine to be 180, and that the number of sodas sold did wind up being 2 times the number of hot dogs sold. Okay. All right, let's look at the third problem. Let's finish it. Now these two, 3 and 4, they turn out to be ones where the addition method would work well. I would take and multiply that first equation by a -2. If I did, I'd wind up having -2x minus 4y equals -25. The bottom equation is 2x plus 5y equals 2850. So I'm doing this one using the addition method. So I've got it to where the x's are going to cancel out, and I'll have that 1y equals $3.50. So y is $3.50, and remember y, or go back and look, y was the cost of one small drink. Okay. Now to get the x, I need to go back up to one of the equations. I'm just going to use this bottom one since it's just right here. And right there where I see a y, I'm going to wind up replacing it with $3.50. Now, one of the things with application problems that you have to get accustomed to is you're going to have numbers sometimes like these. These are decimal numbers, and so you're not as used to working with them. You know, they're not just nice integers that you're so familiar with, okay? So we wind up putting the 350 in place of the y in this equation, and then just working that out. So 2x would equal 15, 16, 17 plus 1750 would equal 2850. Calculators are designed to be used with decimals, so it doesn't really make it that much harder. So subtract the 1750, then 2x equals, what is that, $11? And we need x, so we're going to divide by 2. And we know x then would be $5.50. So getting that 50-cent part isn't a problem because that's just the cost of a large popcorn. Now, just make sure when you type it into ALEKS that you put the correct thing in the correct spot. Okay. All right, and then let's finish the fourth problem. Okay, here we have our two equations. Now all we got to do is solve them. The x and y are on the same side, so doing the addition method would work well. 5x plus 6y equals 8. We have 2x plus 2y equals 3. Now you can get rid of either x or y, but I noticed how I could just take that bottom equation and multiply by -3, and then that would make the coefficient of the y be a -6y, and then the y's would cancel out. So that's what I'm going to do, but you could have also canceled out the x. That would have been okay. But if I multiplied through by a -3, I'd get -6x minus 6y equals -9. So then the y's canceled because I made it so they would. And I wind up with -1x equaling -1. And so when I divide by -1, I find out x equals 1. So that's the length of time in hours for plan A. And I know that because I told myself x is the length of time for plan A. So where it asked me to, I'll put that in, 1 hour, okay? But I also need B, so I'm going to go back to one of the two equations, okay? So I could take either equation, plug in the 1 for the x, and then solve for y. So here I would have 5 plus 6y equals 8. And then when I subtract 5 from both sides, I'll wind up with 6y equaling 3. And then dividing by 6 tells me that y would equal 1/2. Okay? And the answers to this question are supposed to be the length of time in hours, right, for each of these workout plans. So plan B is a 30-minute workout plan. So half of an hour, okay, or 30 minutes for that one.